this is ISO Trivandrum. This is where I come from. You can look at it. It's actually basically inside a jungle, and you can see. So this is actually the entrance over here. We have an indoor stadium, and this is the hostel blocks, and we have academics blocks here, like physics is here, chemistry is here, biology is here, and this is how it is. So I'd like to introduce you to the courses that are offered there. We have BSMS courses there, interdisciplinary masters courses there, and then we also have integrated PhD and exclusive PhD. So I would strongly encourage all of you to apply for your masters there. I think you will, for chemistry, I think you have a common entrance exam, and for physics, I think you will have to, you need a just score to apply. So, and there are also a number of workshops and one-day programs and short winter schools there. So, it would be nice to have you all there in the campus to have an idea of the research that's going on there. So, in our lab, we work at Nanomaterials and Energy Devices Lab with Professor M.M. Shaijumon. We actually look for materials, like 2D materials. We have an exclusive CVD setup there to grow 2D materials like WS2, MOS2, and we also grow single-layered selenium structures. And we then look at their applications. And then we also work on electrocatalysis, HER, OER. We have a separate division for that. And then batteries, of course. And in batteries, we just don't restrict ourselves to lithium. We work on lithium, sodium, potassium, and all the systems. And then we also work on metal sulfur and metal selenium systems. And recently, this is a long dream for a professor, like we work on micro batteries, wherein we try to develop coaxial structures of wherein you have an anode, a CNT type of structure that could be an anode, then a polymeric wrap electrolyte, and then another sputtered cathode on top of it. So it's like a miniature coaxial electrode. And then we also work on all solid state, which I'll be talking in detail. And we've also initiated work on battery recycling. So we just take spent lithium-ion batteries, try to scrape off their cathode materials and convert them into another useful product for battery or catalysis applications. So this is an overview of what we do. And in the next 40 minutes, I will be describing or telling you all a little bit about battery making and fabrication, the role of electrolytes and their types, and the emergence of solid-state batteries and a recent research on solid-state battery electrolytes. So before I move, I would like to know how many of you are from chemistry background. Say hello, chemistry. Okay, physics, louder. Oh yeah, that's good. Okay, so I'll kind of bring in a competition atmosphere here. So I'll be asking a few questions to chemistry and physics based on the relevance. Okay, so y'all are ready, right? Yes. Okay. So to chemistry now. What is this? Yes. Power bank. Okay, but that's not my question. Which of these would you want to buy? If I show you these two power banks, which of these would you want to buy? Which one? The thinner one or the thicker one? Thinner one. Okay, to physics. Why? Yes? Yes, it's portable. Both of them are portable. Yes, exactly. That's less. This one has a lesser weight. So, be it laptops, be it portable power banks, or be it your mobile phones, you always want it to be lightweight, compact, easy to carry, and stuff like that. So, what do you think? To physics again. What do you think are the two major factors that help us having compact structures? Two major technological advancements. One. Do you think semiconductor technology has influence on this? Yes. What else? Batteries, of course, yes. So batteries have definitely created a magic, and with lithium-ion batteries, I will be failing in my duties if I don't mention Professor Stanley Whittingham, Professor John B. Goodenough, and Professor Yoshino, so for their contributions to create this lithium-ion battery. And they have been awarded. They had this discovery 30 years ago, like 30 decades, so 30 years ago, and they've been given Nobel Prize now. And do you all know why that is? Why? Appave kuduthirukkalame. Why now? It is because the technological relevance, the technological importance of it, we are the direct evidence of the technological advancements and the impact of the batteries that have been created. And the revolution that it has created is indeed a magic. And the other best part is that we don't have another system that could supersede these technologies, and they've stayed so long, and that has to be recognized. So that is the main reason why these people have been given the Nobel Prize. So I'd like to give you, what are the components of a battery? I think physics people will be knowing a little more because we have a battery research group here. What are the components of a battery? Perfect. Anode, cathode, electrolyte and separator. So it's like you have a cathode which is a lithium containing cathode. Lithium metal oxide like LiFePO4, LiCOO2. So all these are lithium containing cathode materials, and we also have graphite like anodes. So what we do is we deliberately push these lithium from the cathode to the anode, and it's like asking you people to come and sit in the front row. You apply a potential and you deliberately force them to go to the anode, and that's how you charge a battery. And then when you want to discharge, it's like you release them, you make them free, and they try to come back to their own position, and that's how we discharge. And since we have the separator as the lithium alone permitting candidate, the electrons are forced to move through the connecting wires, and that's how you get electricity. I hope it's clear for all of you now. Okay? Okay. Can I have a hand mic? Okay. What is this? Very good. So, how many of you here know to make a cake? Or have seen YouTube videos of making a cake? Yes. Okay. Let's take what goes inside a cake. Just stand up and tell me louder. What goes inside a cake? Let's take a banana cake for example. What goes inside a banana cake? First, oh wow, great. Clap for her. Okay. Bananas, and then maida, refined flour, yeah, maida. Egg, very good. Egg is a very important. What does egg do? Egg is kind of a binder. Yeah, okay. And then sugar, very good. A little bit of essence or walnuts or almonds as per your choice. So this is what goes inside a cake. So it is, if you are familiar with making a cake, I would say for sure that you would also be good researchers in making battery electrodes. So it's more like baking a battery. So what goes inside a battery electrode is just what happens in making a cake. So we have, what do we do with banana cakes? Say for example, you smash bananas, you add milk, you add egg, and you make that liquid slurry separately. And then we have this refined flour. Then we break down sugar into smaller particles. You call it icing sugar. So sugar, icing sugar, flour, and then a little bit of baking soda is separately mixed. And how do we mix them? There is one important step. And how do we mix them? No, the dry ingredients alone. I think I can hear it. What did you say? Sieve, right? You actually sieve them. That is exactly what we do. We have our active material. So just like powdering the icing sugar, we break down our active material components, one, and then we add it with the super P, a conducting carbon, so as to increase its conductivity. Okay, so, and then we sieve them nicely together. So this is the dry mix. And parallelly we have the wet mix, wherein we have the binder, just like the egg, and the solvent. So we mix that together, and then we add these dry ingredients slowly, just as we add our maida and icing sugar powder to our milk mixture, and that's how we make an electrode, and dry that and make an electrode. I hope you will not forget making a battery electrode hereafter, right? Yes, okay. And then we stack them together. So you have the cathode and then you have a separator and then you wet the separator just like you wet your layers with a little bit of sugar syrup and then you stack them one after the other. Since lithium is highly moisture sensitive, sodium is also, potassium is even more sensitive, we use a glove box for all these assemblies. Okay. So, and then this is a point fill. So we stack our electrodes inside and we assemble the point fill inside and then we do preliminary analysis. To scale up, we even go to a little bit of pouch cell application and cylindrical pouch, cylinders or pouch or prismatic. We go for different configurations. Okay, the same question again. Now to physics. What are the two vehicles that you are seeing here? Electric car and a gasoline ICE car. Which of these would you choose if you want to buy your first car? Gasoline? How many of you want gasoline? Okay. How many of you want electric? Oh, that's a good number. I'll just show you one more picture and then let me see if you change your decision. இப்போ சொல்லுங்க என்ன வேணும்? Okay, so one picture changed your whole plan of buying an electric vehicle. You don't have to be scared about it. We have technologies now. Even with liquid-based systems, we have good battery management system. We have additives that could retard these flammability issues. So you don't have to be worried. But I would just want to emphasize that this was because of the liquid electrolyte part, because of the short circuit that happens, and I'll tell you about it a little later. Don't be worried. The government globally, not just our government, globally there is a huge funding for all these electric vehicle market, and you can see that these are a few recent articles. So here we see that Elon Musk has just met the US administration recently for electric vehicle funding, and this one is a mini scooter like EV that might be coming to our cities also in the next few years, and this is Tamil Nadu government's policy, EV policy for bringing about a change in the from moving from gasolines to electric vehicles. Tamil Nadu is already an electric automobile hub, so I think it will be easy for the government to transfer from a gasoline-based system to an EV system. And yes, that does come with a little bit of compromise. We are still not sure where to have a charging stations. We are still not sure how do we exchange the battery. So that is all in the process of evolution and progress, and I'm sure we'll be moving towards it in a much faster pace in the years. And the government is also strongly funding. This is actually a 10 crore project that we've got. Shaiji sir is brought at my supervisor. So this is like a consortium project wherein the government gives you 10 crore money. It opens a call for more than 100 scientists, and then they apply their proposals, and here they have selected 16 institutions, and each of them will contribute to different work packages. So a few of them will work on anodes, a few of them will work on cathodes, a few will work on electrolytes, and a few will work on AI and machine learning, a few will work on automation strategies. So different people combine in different work packages and they come together to work for solid state. So this is the first of its kind consortium project. So it is, so I am also a part of this project. So all these are also happening around. Okay, so before I move on, I want to tell you about electrolyte a little bit. Finding an electrolyte. What is an electrolyte? What does an electrolyte have? Yes? Ions, yeah. It has a salt in a solvent. So that's electrolyte. Okay. So to find the right electrolyte is a very difficult choice. Though you have hundreds of solvents available, though you have hundreds of salts available, it is very difficult to find a suitable electrolyte. Say for example, I work on cathodes and I find an electrolyte that is very good in relation with the cathode. It might not be so with the anode. And similarly, if I find one that is compatible with the anode, it might not be compatible with the cathode side. So, and there are other issues also associated with the electrolyte, and that, as I showed you earlier, is the flammability. I will tell you the so these electrolytes are prone to catching fire, and there is one more thing that limits us with going to higher capacity. When we have a liquid electrolyte system, the problem is that they cannot operate at a higher voltage. Though we have, like Shamla ma'am is working on cathode materials, though we have good cathode materials that could operate at a higher potential, we might not be able to use them in a liquid electrolyte because they have a certain limitation. They cannot go beyond 4.5 or they cannot go beyond 4.8 volt. So that is a limitation that we have with liquid electrolyte system. And one more thing is the capacity. What is capacity? Like if I say a bottle, if I have a bottle, how do I quantify the bottle? How much water it can hold? Okay, so it's kind of a volumetric capacity. Just as I say how much of volume of water a bottle can hold, I can also say how much of charge of a battery electrode can hold, and that is called the specific capacity of a battery electrode. If somebody is coming and telling you that, oh, I have made a new battery electrode, you have to first ask them what is its capacity. That's how you quantify your electrode. So commercially available cathodes or anodes, they have a capacity of maximum 200 milliampere per gram or so. But you have lithium. Lithium is a very powerful anode candidate. Its capacity is 3860 milliampere per gram, but you cannot use it as such. You cannot use it as such because of dendrites. So dendrites are actually the villains here. When I say dendrite, what do you feel it would look like? Branch structure. Okay, yeah, good, very good. So it is mostly a branch structure. So this is actually an image of, this is actually, you can see electrolyte here. This is lithium and this is another electrode. So with time, upon applying potential, you can see that this lithium is not uniformly growing or uniformly depositing, but is growing as a hair-like structure, and these hair-like structures are called as dendrites. Yes, dendrites. So what happens here? Physics, it's getting difficult now. I want you all to answer. So when there's a short circuit happening, so the cathode and the anode are touching each other and a short circuit is happening, which means there is a sudden rush of electrons. What would happen if there's a sudden rush of electrons? Will it cause fire? Yes. What is the law behind it? Power, current, resistor. Okay, it's Joule heating. So you P equals I square R, and the more of heating happens because of the sudden increase in electrons, and that's how you have a short circuit, and that is not good for us. So those lithium or sodium or potassium are good anode candidates. You cannot use them because of this issue of these dendrites being easily able to move through or go through these liquid electrolyte systems. So we are in a need to replace these with another electrolyte medium such that we restrict the flow of these ions. Okay. So we need better electrolytes. When I say better electrolytes, we have to move from liquid. So one option is a composite polymer electrolyte with fillers, and then the other option is the inorganic materials like ceramics and glassy materials. Okay, now you have to tell me this. I have three images here. I've told you about three different electrolyte systems. One is the liquid, the other one is polymer, and the other one is solid electrolyte. So I have three here. Can you identify these things in the image? I think you must be able to do that. A milkshake, Oreo, a choco bar. Okay. So I want you all to map three of these which are analogous to the electrolyte system. So what do you map the milkshake with? Okay, that's how it actually looks like. What do you map the Oreo crumb in Oreo biscuit? Polymer. And what do you mark the choco bar inside the chocolate ice cream? Exactly. So this is how this is exactly how your electrolytes are going to be, and this is exactly how you are going to feel your electrolytes as. So this is liquid, polymer, and inorganic. The concept here is, I am going to tell you 3 different strategies, 2 of which have been published by us and 1 I just adapted from the internet. And I want to emphasize this because we are into interdisciplinary research, and you might see, this is solid state batteries. How many of you associated with chemistry? Okay, good. How many of you associated with physics? Oh, that's nice. Okay, so you can actually, irrespective of the topic, be it solid state batteries, be it DSSC, be it thermoelectric materials, or be it like surge stock, like environment based things, I feel like both physics, chemistry can equally contribute to it, and you don't have to actually study chemistry. A physics student might not have to go into looking at the bonds, the molecular structures, and study chemistry to work on solid state batteries. And be it for chemistry, you don't have to go and read your EIS, impedance fundamentals. You just have to find out the right track. And when I say right track, you can apply what you have studied to the topic that you are going to work. And I am going to give you 3 different examples. So we have solid electrolyte. So this is the solid electrolyte pellet that I have shown, and this is the polymer electrolyte that I have. So when it comes to solid electrolyte research, what happens is, we need a very solid, in order to avoid grain boundaries, I will have to increase the sintering temperature to a very high temperature, about 1300 and so on. And when I do that, that happens on one side, and I might also want to work on polymer scaffolds, so I can add a little bit of supporting materials. So with high temperature sintering, you can increase the transportation between the grains, but what you have to lose for it is the lithium or ions that are there in it. So the stoichiometry might be lost when you're going for a high temperature sintering. That is a serious problem. And with polymer electrolytes, though they are, as you see, though they are thin in size, but they're not that good conductors as that of the perfect solid electrolyte pellet. So we are in need for a polymer substituting material with large porosity that could have good interconnected poles, and also that could give us a better conductivity. So this is our approach of using metal organic frameworks. How many of you have heard of MOFs? Yes, metal organic frameworks are made of a metal center with an organic ligand, and they are highly porous in structure. You can tune their pore size based on the ligand or the metal ion that you are using. So metal organic frameworks are really a promising class of candidates. So what we did is, we tried to incorporate these metal organic frameworks, and we tried to avoid this high temperature sintering process. So this is a zirconium based metal organic framework, and these materials are proven to be single ion conductors like lithium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, and so on. So we just added a small fraction of these filling agents during our pellet pressing process, and then we assembled a cell. So this is how so we did not want to go for a high temperature sintering. We just stopped at a place where we were able to see good XRD peaks of LATP, and we did not go to a high temperature sintering, which is the advantage. And then we also mixed it with a little bit of PTFE. PTFE chemistry, Teflon. Okay, PTFE is Teflon. So we just added a little bit of LATP and PTFE, and then we had PTFE acts as a binder here, and also an absorbent, and LATP PTFE morph is another composite, and LATP morph is another composite. So these were the 3 different systems we tried. So we made them a pellet, and then we added them to a plasticizer, which I am not going to reveal because this work is not published. So we just kept it in the plasticizer solution. That solution, it's a solution at 60 degree, and it solidifies at 40. So we add these pellets inside the plasticizer and leave it for 48 hours, and then take it out at room temperature, and that becomes a solid electrolyte. So that solid electrolyte was used as used in combination with the LFP and the lithium, and we were able to achieve good capacity. And you can see that this is the cross section of the LATP pellet. This is the LiFePO4 cathode, and this is again the current collector. You can just see a cake-like structure as I told you earlier, and this on the other side is the LATP solid electrolyte pellet and the lithium metal. So this is one approach wherein you could use new materials that are available and go forward with your research. And then there is this other one which is exclusively for physicists, I would say. So this is we have n number of studies that talk about how dendrites grow, what could be used to prohibit these dendrites. And this is one recent article in Joule that came up, wherein they tried to control the dendrite propagation in solid state batteries using stress. So what do you see here? What is this? The pellet, yeah. So you have a pellet here, and then you keep a small patch of lithium over here and over here, and then you start applying potential. So when you start applying potential, in a normal case, you can see that these dendrites are growing, and they are trying to reach the lithium metal side. So what these researchers did is that they applied stress in a perpendicular direction, and when you apply stress in a perpendicular direction, you could see magic. What were they able to see? They were able to see that these dendrites started to grow in the direction of the applied stress, and then they were able to prevent the short circuiting. And you can see this over here. So you have a small amount of lithium coming with zero pressure applied. You can see this is tending to grow, and with 200 megapascal of pressure applied, you can see that it's starting to deflect. And again with 200 megapascal, it's starting to grow in the deflected direction. And again with more current and the same pressure, it's even going to the sides, and it's never ever trying to reach the other side. So the point over here is, so they have not worked on molecules, they did not work on the chemistry, they just applied the physics that they have, and they found out that the solution caused by stress turns out to be more stress, just that it's applied in the right direction and with the right amount of force. So this, I think this can apply to our life also. So in case you are in a stressed environment, in case you are put in a stressed environment, you might have to feel that it's for good and go on, and that's it. So the last part is microwave assisted synthesis of sulfide based solid electrolytes for all solid state sodium ion batteries. This is my project work. I will have to tell you a story about it actually. So when I was writing my proposal, I just looked into a few papers and I found out that Na3PS4 is an ideal soft candidate. You don't have to go for high temperature sintering. You just have to take the precursors for Na3PS4, which is sodium sulfide and P2S5 in a stoichiometric ratio. Then you just mix them, and then you ball mill them and you get the powder. I felt like, it's so easy, and I thought that I could go ahead with it easily. But when I started working with it, we found that it was very air sensitive. I take it out of the glove box, it reacts spontaneously, and there was one more issue associated with sulfides. What was that? What is that? Chemistry? Sulfides? Yes? The smell. It is so smelly that people never allowed us to work in the lab, and we had to work in the night time, and we had to protect it with Kapton tape. We had to seal it with N number. We tried ball milling, we tried to seal it with a Kapton tape, we tried to put it in a crucible, seal it with a cork. Nothing worked. So when we were completely dejected and we were about to give up this project, we came up with this microwave reactor. Do we have one in our college now? Yes. So it is a boon actually to all those of you, especially who are working in chemistry synthesis. You can do simple synthesis like hydrothermal, solvothermal, all of that could be done very quickly. So you all must be knowing that it has a microwave vial as a container, and what we did is we felt that it was airtight also. So rather than trying to seal it ourselves, we just took this microwave vial inside the glove box, we added our precursors into it, and then took it out after sealing and then heated it, and for the first time we were able to get cubic Na3PS4 by microwave reheating. We did not have solvent in it, so this is actually a dry approach compared to the conventional microwave research that we do, and in 5 minutes we were able to get these solid pellets, solid powder. And then we did a little bit of characterization. We were able to look at its conductivity, and then a little bit of cycling. We will have to work on the cycling. So here, in order to improve the interface, we used a polymeric membrane. So this is a cathode, this is the electrolyte, and we also have a polymeric membrane in between it, so as to give a proper contact and a proper interface. And we are still working on kind of thinning down this interface and looking at a better cycling performance. But the OCD was like 3.34. For MVP, Na3V2 PO4 thrice, it's like 3.4 is the operating potential, and we were quite close to that. So we were able to kind of look into the available facilities at our campus, and were able to come up with a new procedure for making these solid state batteries. And I hope you have seen all these three approaches. So if you want to do a research, I think you can take home these three messages that you could use. Especially when it comes to material science, you could look for novel methods that could yield materials at an accelerated pace, so that it could be used for industry applications and so on. And you could also explore new materials, like we have MOFs. So you can give a try of having those materials in the existing systems, and you can also have an in-depth study of the science, just like they did for the stress and strain study. You can also do that, and that is the message that I wanted to give you all. So this is my team, our team. So there are like more than 30 of us here, so this is a big group. And amongst us, these are the people who are working with me. So these are Bibin, Indu and Vardhini. They work on dual ion batteries. Indu is a postdoc with me on the ICMF project. Vardhini works on all solid state. Ashwati was the one who helped me with the microwave synthesis. Sri Lakshmi, she did her hard carbon. Shovik is into micro batteries. And this guy is from catalysis, but I took him in for some material aspect. Actually, I was into zinc system. Rajesh is again into solid state. And then Janvi is into lithium selenium, Rohit is with cathodes, and Sri Lakshmi is also into cathodes. So this is our whole team, and I'd like to acknowledge National NPDF for my funding opportunity, and then Mission Innovation and DST for this ICMF funding. And I would be failing in my duties if I fail to acknowledge Secretary for my PhD, and I'd like to also thank my supervisor, Dr. Manuel Stephen, for all the training and all that he has done, and that had really helped me come forward. And thank you all. Thank you. Questions? You can ask me anything you want. You can ask me anything. Yes. How many of you want to do PhD? Okay, that's nice. How many of you are in a dilemma? Pannalama, Venama? Okay. Actually, you can take this time and opportunity to figure out if you would want it or not want it. It is really a good opportunity, and financially also, it's like funding is good now. So you can also start supporting your family the moment you enter into a PhD course. And before entering, you might have to look at who the guide is, how the team is, how relevant is the topic, where are you going to do your PhD, and what would be the future of the subject that you are going to work in. I would want you all to take a look at that, not just that PhD, I just want to go there and do. You don't have to do that. Take time, think and do. I also want to tell you all that with batteries, so many industries are coming. Reliance, Ola, Faradaon, all of them are coming, and the starting pay is more than 1 lakh. And you don't even have to do a PhD, postdoc. The moment you finish your PhD, you can go in there. If in case you finish your PhD and go in there, and I finish postdoc and go in there, they treat us equally. They don't give preferences for postdocs because you have an additional experience. They just see what you have, and if you are trained for a polymer electrolyte, and if I am trained for a cathode, and that is all they want, and you are taken in there on spot. So in case you finish your PhD, you don't have to think like, oh, I have to find a place in IIT or ISER, or I have to go in for a faculty position. You can just walk in at any point, provided you are interested in it. So batteries, hydrogen storage, solar cells, and environment related programs. And for SF people, I think data science is a really good option. So you can all try out all those subjects, and I hope you'll have a good research career ahead. Thank you.
I have a couple of questions, Shruti. Just curiosity, how long it will take to realize all these advances in battery research to reach on-road application without any fear or any danger of explosion? Current research advance.
I think we have a huge funding, ma'am. Toyota has already started, Ford has already started, electric vehicles, not with solid state technology but with liquid systems. So they are already on road, and not just electric, we have hybrid models like combustion and batteries combined. I think they are all on road now. But for us to not have, at this stage might not go for an electric vehicle. I might take some time. Maybe with the infrastructure, maybe with use any new technology, that's what happens, right?
In another 5 years?
5 to 10 years, yes, ma'am. Yes, probably.
Then regarding this stress, by applying the stress, you change the direction of the dendrite growth, isn't it? That is an intentional stress, and we change the direction. When such materials are put into real-time applications, what would happen if an unknown stress is applied and if they behave in the same way, the direction that we don't want actually? So how do we prevent that?
The point is, when you are assembling a solid state battery, all solid state, now actually what people do are, when we look at publications, they fabricate a solid state electrolyte, Nasicon, Garnet, all these structures, they stack it all, and at the last what they do is they say that they add a 20 microliter of liquid electrolyte to it, and that's how they publish papers. But that's not what we want. What is the next most important factor is you apply a stack pressure. So you keep a cathode powder, you keep your electrolyte powder, and you keep your anode, and then you stack it and apply a pressure. So pressure is an eventual property that has to come. It is not going to be accidental, or it is not going to be careless. So when you are assembling a solid state battery, it will have a stack pressure, a mandatory stack pressure. Only then will your battery function. And maybe when you are applying a perpendicular stack pressure, you will also have to apply it in the sideways by fabricating, so that you get these results also. So that's it. Yes, sir.
Hi Shruti. Your opinion about supercapacitors?
Yes.
Supercapacitors.
We are not working actually. Yeah, but you can tell me. I know a little bit about it.
Which one is better for research? Batteries or supercapacitors?
Depending on where you are doing, I would say batteries. But when you are starting with in colleges or in universities, you don't have glove box facilities. So in that case, for you to take your research forward, I would recommend supercapacitors, aqueous supercaps. And not just aqueous supercaps, we also have aqueous batteries, zinc aqueous batteries. If you are interested in batteries, I would recommend batteries probably. Yeah. You can have supercaps for all these start-stop applications. Anytime you want to start or stop, anytime you want a regenerative sudden braking, for all that supercaps are applicable. But batteries, they are not just limited to electric vehicles, your power storage, your mobile phones, your laptop. All of them can even come down by a half of its size if we are using solid-state batteries. And that's it.
Thank you.
Students, at least one of you can ask me a question. Who's working with Shyamla, ma'am? Pushpa, ma'am? Sintika, ma'am? I think they're discussing and asking. You can also discuss. Do we have time, ma'am? 2 more minutes. Oh, yes. Yes, sir.
Good morning. I think you should be really happy that your senior now is standing here, and she has proved really to be worth going on here. Yeah. And not only this, I think she is a very good teacher. And you are going to have a big professor. I hope if you willing to come back here for some time, and then so wonderful talk, and I'm really so happy. And I would like to really love to see you online in my university
Oh, sure.
for my undergraduate students.
Sure.
So maybe in future I will contact you.
Sure, sir.
And I think the work you see this is highly promising, and the world requires all this. And of course, I think Shruti also initially described whether you really love to have the electrical vehicles or the other one, gasoline. Probably it has a big business ahead. And 2 years ago, before COVID, few students from chemistry department, we had an internship during summer, and they proposed maybe like after every 200 kilometer you can have a
Charging point.
charging point, and at the same time people are thinking you must provide some cafe or some kind of like internet.
Relaxation
Yeah,
time.
yeah. So after every 200 kilometers, something like this. So there are a number of models, whether you can replace batteries or you can charge if you are having by that time the fast charging system. So a number of things you can think in your mind. So she has opened a new business idea in your mind. So thank you, Shruti, and really I love to be here among all of you, and good luck. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. I would also recommend one thing to all of you. All of you have a mail ID, right? So I would want to also draft a mail thinking of what would be the electric vehicle scenario in the next 10 years, schedule it like to the greatest extent, and maybe after 10 years or so you will yourself receive a mail from you, and then you can compare what was your thought process, and then you can see, oh okay, I was very close enough, oh I was so bad at presenting and all that. So you can do that also. So thank you. And as sir said, I would also like to mention, like, thanks to, I don't think I've reached anywhere, but I would have to thank a few people. And Uma ma'am, thank you for introducing me to Secretary. Thank you so much. Pushpa ma'am is here. She is also one of my initial supervisors. I hope she remembers. We had that superstition project, like you remember, right ma'am? So we were like, we had a list of all the superstitions, and then we went to a few people and then collected feedback. Bintu ma'am is here. I don't know if she remembers, but she gave me, we made newsletters. So one time when we were doing this drafting thing, she told me, like, if you find a mistake, correct it at that point. If you see it's a comma or full stop, don't go and don't think that you could do it a little later. Do it at that point. And I think that has become an obsession for me now. I cannot, I take that even now, and thank you for that, ma'am. I cannot move ahead. Patena, I cannot move ahead. Jansi ma'am is here, she's my advisor. For both BSc and MSc, I think, yes. So thank you. Thank you all also. Priscilla is here, Yuvashri is here, they're all my classmates, so just happy to see them also here again. So thank you. I deem it an honor and privilege to get the opportunity to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. On behalf of this gathering, many thanks from all of us to the esteemed guest speaker, Dr. Shruti Surya Kumar, National Postdoctoral Fellow, School of Physics, IISER, Thiruvananthapuram, for gracing this occasion. Thank you, ma'am, for bringing in the magic of the world of solid-state batteries. We are very much grateful for the informative, inspiring and a very much interactive session. As a token of our love and gratitude, I would like to call upon Mrs. C. Esther Elizabeth Grace, Assistant Dean of Student Affairs, Self-Financed, and Assistant Professor, Department of Physics, Lady Doak College, to bestow the guest of honor with a memento. Thank you, Mom.
are about to start the next session, I request all the students to maintain the silence. I request all the students to maintain the silence. Please maintain silence. Thank you.
பண்ணியே வச்சுக்கோ.
Dear participants, we are about to start the session. We request you to maintain silence.
Is it audible? Yes, sir. Sure. Friends, please come and occupy the front rows. Dear friends, Astra Lab Supplies, one of our sponsors, have displayed the stall at the back of J.X. Miller Auditorium. During a break, you can visit their stall. Astra Lab Supplies, one of our sponsors, have displayed the stall at the back of J.X.
Yes, ma'am, I can hear. No problem. Yeah, definitely we can. Thank you.
Upcoming session will be conducted virtually, for which I would like to call upon Dr. G. Jayanti Kalaivani, Assistant Professor, Department of Chemistry, to introduce our resource person, Dr. Sivanesan Arumugam, Product Manager and Honorary Visiting Fellow at Queensland University of Technology, Sydney, Australia. Over to you, ma'am.
A very warm good morning to one and all gathered here. I deem it as a great honor and privilege to welcome and introduce my friend and my classmate, Dr. Sivanesan Arumugam, amidst this august gathering. He, who served as a dynamic product manager with a strong technical knowledge on analytical instruments and passion towards understanding the industrial requirements and offering the right analytical solution via suitable strategic planning, establishing priorities and ending up with product development, has elevated to the next level of being a business manager since November 2022, owing to his hard work, sincerity and dedication. Let me give a short introduction about his major achievements in academics, research and industrial fields. He completed his bachelor's degree in Vivekananda College, Trivandrum, and master's degree in the American College, Madurai. He did his doctoral research in Gandhigram Rural Institute in the area of electrochemical biosensors under the guidance of late Dr. S. Abraham Jan, who passed away recently. He has received postdoctoral research fellowships from different institutes such as Max Wollner Laboratory for Biophysical Chemistry, Technical University Berlin, Germany for a period of 3 years since 2009. Marie Curie postdoctoral fellowships from European Research Council, Institute of Physical Chemistry, Polish Academy of Sciences, Warsaw, Poland for more than a year since 2012. Exchange postdoctoral research fellow Asian University Germany and Polish Academy of Sciences for a year since 2013. And was also a postdoctoral research fellow in nanotechnology and molecular science, Queensland University of Technology, Brisbane, Australia for 2 years since 2014. He also served as a research fellow in Future Industries Institute, University of South Australia during the year 2016-2017. My God, what an enriching research experience he has. Never tried to remain idle. That shows his passion towards learning and research. He later joined as a product manager in electrochemistry and spectroscopy, Vacuum, Australia. From the year 2017 till November 2022, after which he has been promoted as a business manager. Team spirit and timely completion of the projects undertaken are his major strengths. I'm delighted to share that Dr. Sivanesan has been recognized as a global expert for electrochemistry by Metrium Headquarters Electrochemistry Division because of his hard work and dedication. I heard recently that he has completed his MBA too. Hope I'm right in saying this. What a dynamic personality he is. He served as an associate supervisor for 3 PhD students and 4 master's students at the University of South Australia, Queensland University of Technology and Charles Darwin University. He has published more than 40 peer-reviewed international referee journal articles, 2 book chapters and filed 2 patents on development of a novel electrochemical and surface-enhanced Raman spectroscopy method for quantifying proteins. He has very good practical skills and knowledge in various immunoassay experiments like ELISA, immunomass spectrometry, immunoelectrochemistry and so on. And he developed an antibody aptamer functionalized magnetic gold nanoparticles for selective extraction and concentration of important proteins such as erythropoietin, insulin, etc. from human serum samples. And he has rich expertise in handling several instruments like Raman spectrometer, MS, HPLC, MS, SEM10, FM, AFM and so on. He is here to enlighten us with his speech on industry-academia partnerships for sustainable energy and environment, and it is the need of the hour as we focus our attention towards achieving the ambitious targets of the 2030 Agenda of the United Nations 17 SDGs. This is, of the global goals, goal number 17 seems to be very important, which requires academia and industries to build partnerships in order to mobilize all the available resources for sustainable development with special attention towards sustainable energy and environment. On behalf of the entire faculty fraternity of the Department of Chemistry and Physics, I wish to express my sincere thanks to you for accepting our invitation and for your gracious virtual presence. We wish to hear more from you, like how best we can collaboratively contribute towards the global goals. And here is a chance for us, being academicians, to identify possible ways to knit collaborations with industries that were yielding accelerated development through new breakthroughs. Let us listen to the eminent personality and over to Dr. Sivanesan. The floor is all yours.
Thanks, Janji. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, excellent. Right. First of all, thank you very much for Lerigo College for giving me this opportunity to share my experience and the bit of knowledge I have in this space. And prior to that, I would like to thank, and I don't know what to say, he's no more with us, as Janji mentioned before. Dr. S.A.J. sir, he is my supervisor, and he is the man behind me on electrochemistry, and unfortunately he is no more with us. In this incident situation, I'd like to thank him for all his mentorship and shaping me for 4 years during my PhD time at Gandhigram. So, before I get further, I would like to thank Jayanti for giving me this opportunity. Of course, Jayanti is not the only classmate of classmate in American College from Lady Doak, so there are 3 or 4 more girls. Before I go into my presentation, maybe I'll take this opportunity to thank Jayanti on particularly one thing. I struggled a lot to get my degree in American college when I started. So I'm so bad in taking notes or parallelly listening and taking notes in the class. And of course, Jayanti is very good in that. I don't know how she is doing. She always able to take a fantastic notes, and at the same time, she was able to listen to the class as well. So after a few months, I sincerely recommended her, Jayanti, notes எடுக்கும் போது A4 note எடுக்கிறீங்களா, ஜெராக்ஸ் போட ஈஸியா இருக்கும் அப்படின்னு சொன்னேன். Actually, she respected my words and did that. Actually, I should say that Jayanti is one of the reasons for me to get my MSc degree. So it's not just a joke. People who have studied in American college know how difficult it is there to get the degree. Of course, my degree in American college is not a smooth sailing. I had an arrear finally in the last semester, but somehow I managed to pass that. It's an interesting time. So with this little bit of information to the topic, now I listened to the resource person list, and it seems like I'm the only one coming from industry side. So it might be something different to you. I don't know whether in a good way or bad way. I believe it's in a good way. So I'll just share whatever I have thought it might be useful to you here. So and I'll go through that, and please feel free to stop anytime and ask me a question. So now my presentation will quickly give an introduction about the company, Metron. I don't know how much of you are familiar with the name Metron. I'll go through that quickly. And then I just give an introduction about research, how it was in the past, current, and where it is going in the future. And then why we need industry and academia partnership. Is that a need or a necessity? And a couple of technologies in this partnership in Oceania region. When I say this, I'm going to talk about the products which I am handling, which is mostly electrochemistry products and spectroscopy product line. So this is my expert area, so I'm only focused on those two product lines. It doesn't mean that other instruments are used. Definitely there are many more, but I'm just restricted with these two instruments. And some of the examples I would like to share here, which is closely related to sustainable energy environment, and I believe it is more relevant to the topic here. And of course, career opportunities in Metron or globally in different companies. I'll just give an outline about how you can get into the industry side as well. So Metron, who we are, so it's one of the most trusted manufacturer of high precision instruments for chemical analysis, like titration, ion chromatography, voltammetry, electrochemical workstation, spectroscopy. So he is the man behind the company. So he is Bertel Stoner. He founded the company in 1943. So I think we completed nearly 8 years now. And he is an interesting personality. He did his PhD in spectroscopy when he was 75 years old. So you can imagine how passionate about he is in science. So today we are present in more than 98 countries with our own subsidiaries, which is 56, and we have exclusive distributors in 42 countries. So we are based on Switzerland, and of course we also handle other products like Autolab, which some of the researchers who talked before in the morning yesterday, they would have used probably Autolab instruments in their research, mainly if they are working on battery, solar cell, supercapacitor, all these areas. And also we involve in selling Raman and near-infrared instruments as well, not only for the laboratory, but also to the process environment. So don't worry if you are not able to understand some of the words, just try to understand as much as you can. Now, the history behind the foundation of a high-tech company we just went through, but another interesting factors are we don't have shareholders actually. It's not listed in stock, which means we have a better control. This company cannot be bought or merged. And most importantly, the money we make, 20% of the profit or capital turnover is put back into the research and development. So this is a company which heavily invests in research and development, in not only in the headquarters, but also support multiple projects across different worlds along with the academics. And in Australia, we have 3 projects where we have supported some researchers financially, but unfortunately that's not related to the topic. So it's more related to a sensor field, so I just skipped that part. And 95% of all the components are manufactured in headquarters in Switzerland, so which means we are not affected by the pandemic at all. We are running as usual. and we also do some cultural activities. I think Metro India often does some helps to the societies when there is flooding or when there is any social issues. The company always supports, and we are the major supplier of instruments for environmental, chemical, food, mining, energy applications. So that's a bit about our company. Now, when it comes to Metro Australia, so we say Metro Australia, but we cover all the bits and pieces in the Oceania region, so which is Australia, New Zealand, Fiji, PNG, Solomon Islands, Vanuatu, New Caledonia, all these islands. So which means, yes, I have to travel a lot across this region. That's one of the painful nature of this job. But somehow I like it because every day you will see new people, new industry, so you will learn a lot. Now these are the different offices and across the two countries. So now before I jump into research applications and what are the collaborations we are doing, I just want to give an overview about scientific research, what's in the past, present and future. So I can comfortably say, I think people won't get angry on me when I say this, Europe is somehow the mother of modern scientific research and inventions, which roughly started around 17th century, where all these scientists came up with fundamentals, theories, all these concepts which we use in the modern science. It's all started in Europe. And in those days, it's funny that I was trying to understand what made Europe to come up with science and technology so much. Why not other countries in Asia was not doing that? It's an interesting thing, like in olden days in Europe, people go and demonstrate their scientific inventions in front of the queens and kings in those countries and get rewards. Something very similar to what here in India, so people used to prize the king and get rewards, writing poems and all those things. So when we spend our time in writing poems and all those things, whereas in Europe people invested their time in inventing new things and demonstrated and got rewards. So that's where it all started and people got interest in science there. This is my understanding. I may be wrong here, but since I lived in Europe for 5 to 6 years, I can connect the dots here. And even, I don't know how many of you know this, the first scientific journal of the world, the Philosophical Transaction of the Royal Society, the first issue is in 6th March 1665. It's really long ago. So you can imagine those people long back, they started documenting things. And in olden days, if you look back, okay, research were carried out to solve the human issues and inventions came out of it. And mostly those inventions were privately funded or funded by the kings and queens because there is no democracy at the time. Now, last century, pretty much after the two world wars, democracies were established across the world, and then the research took a new diversion in terms of the government started funding the research. Of course, always private companies did research, but I think more in the 20th century, after the democracy has been established all around the world, many countries started universities, funding research in university, and I think India also in the same phase. After independence, we started doing the same as well. So, but what happened is, yes, government funding bodies funded research. They worked on topics which is not relevant for the time at the moment. Probably they worked on just understanding the scientific concepts in terms of fundamentals. They just focused on learning the fundamentals, but not really industry oriented those days, at least in certain part of the country. Of course, in Europe, it's always, I would say, more industry focused. So slowly the gap between the industry and academia started doing this priority. Again, it's my own research and try to understand this. Now the future is all about now reducing this gap and work together for a common issue. So of course we reached a stage where that, okay, we can't work anymore separately, and there is a reason behind which I will come in my next slide. So for this, Metro is playing a role globally, and of course I am playing this role in Metro Oceania, which is Australia, New Zealand and the tiny islands, focusing on electrochemistry and spectroscopy products. Now, both industries and academia always did research, but not much alignment between them except in few countries, as I said before. So, as you know, industries, research are market driven, and their goal is to make money, of course, that's business. Whereas academics focused on fundamental research, but in reality there were many common issues in the world, like environmental issue, which is becoming very much catastrophic at the moment. And of course, when we talk environmental research, I believe sustainable energy research, which is all about batteries, solar cells, supercapacitor, all these things, is connected with the environmental research. Because why we are talking about renewable energy? Because fossil fuel is creating CO2 pollution, which is creating environmental problem. So in my point of view, environmental issue is the big, because energy, sustainable energy is locked within environmental issues. So which these issues were all looked by both parties, because okay, industries, they don't care about the environmental issues because they don't want to make money there, because they want to make money in a different area. Whereas academics, they don't have much money. They just, with the limited money they got from the government, they did some fundamental research. Because of this issue, nowadays many governments across the world trying to narrow down this gap and force both academics and industries work together in common national and global issues, and one of the key areas is sustainable energy and environment. And I can tell you that in Australia, many government funding bodies are no more giving the money directly for university. They always say that if the university can go to the industry and get X amount of dollar, then the government funding body will give the same X amount of dollar, and then they can work together in a project. So pretty much I think the same thing is happening in India as well. Like, yes, you need to work with the industry partners, try to work on a common problem, and then if the industry is ready to invest certain amount of money in solving that issue, then the government will also put the same amount of money, and then they start doing this. I think it's I don't know whether it's already started in India, but of course it's become so famous in Australia for the last 5-10 years. And that's one of the reasons why I moved from academic to industry, because okay, nowadays academic research is more focused on industry and the problems directly, rather than focusing on publications, doing fundamental research. That made me to move from academic to industry. So that's the story behind my move as well. So hope this gives an overview, and I'll try to picture my understanding in a pictorial way. So for example, if we look at here, industry, they always have money. Academia, yes, we have knowledge. Society, of course, there is always issues, and the government has the power. Now, what the government in many developed countries are doing is, okay, now it's time for industry and academia to work together. You, industry, you have to put the money. Academia, yes, you throw the knowledge, and we will support it with some monetary as well to solve some of the key global issues or the issues in our society. So, again, this is just out of my own imagination. I just try to make this picture. And why we need this industry and academia partnership? Again, the last part of this discussion, in India, in my experience, after traveling across Europe and Australia, of course, I was in US as well for a few trainings and meetings, so I have a fair idea of how this works in US as well. So in India, the gap between the industry and academia research is much bigger. Probably because of this gap, Indians have very strong fundamentals in science, but less manufacturing knowledge. And this is the fact. I know out of my experience that even you won't believe me that some of the developed country master students listen to Indian professors' YouTube videos to understand the science. I know that some of my colleagues used to say that, oh, Indian professors are really good in explaining the fundamentals, because in our country, we invested so much of our time in teaching and learning the fundamentals and trying to understand the fundamentals. Because of that, probably we have less manufacturing knowledge, and of course that's why, because India is now biggest consumer market and we are not the biggest manufacturing country. But that thing is changing because of the recent changes. So, which is a good move. I like that move, because then it gives opportunity for the students to get into industries and focus on manufacturing rather than doing PhD, postdoc research all the time. So I'm glad that the gap is narrowing down, and it's time to close this gap as well, which is already happening, which is great. So now I'm getting into the scientific part. Electrochemistry and spectroscopy, these are my two eyes. So Metron covers a wide range of product lines, and I'm responsible for electrochemistry and spectroscopy product lines. Under the electrochemical product line, we supply a wide range of electrochemical workstations for high-end energy storage, research, supercapacitors, electrocatalysis, sensor applications, all these areas. And also under the spectroscopy product line, we cover Raman and near-infrared spectroscopy, and I always feel proud of working with Raman spectroscopy because it is from our place, basically from Tamil Nadu. So I always feel proud of talking about Raman. Now, what's electrochemistry? I think it's a bit more very fundamental slide, but if someone is not coming from the science or chemistry background, probably this might be helpful to understand. So it's basically the relationship between the electrical and chemical phenomena. There are two types: chemical changes produced by electricity or the production of electricity by chemical changes. So these are the two things. The first thing, chemical changes produced by electricity, of course we can find that sensor applications, catalysis, all those things. Whereas the production of electricity by chemical changes, which is more like battery, those type of galvanostatic things. Now, when it comes to electrochemistry, yes, I don't know how much of you noticed on the top left corner, I put a picture like a cyclic automagram and a duck, because many times when people see cyclic auto, it looks like a duck. So I just make fun out of it. So in electrochemistry, there are different types of electrode systems we have, but at least to do electrochemistry, we need 2 electrodes. But 3 electrode system, 4 electrode system, even 5, 6. There are different types of electrode systems we have. I'm not here to confuse you, but just to give an understanding. Now, we all know that the 2 electrode system is very simple battery. Yes, we have 2 terminals, plus and minus, and we know how to use it. Although many of us, we don't know how it is working inside, but at least we know how to use it. The gas sensor, again, it's a 2 electrode system. I think in India also these days the modern apartments and the modern shopping centers are coming up with these gas sensors. So basically the resistance there will be changes in the structure. And you can see that one of the sensing material they are used is MOF, metal organic framework. I just watched the previous presenter through this talk and she was talking about MOF as well. So these are the materials used, one of the materials used in the sensor applications as well, which is a 2 electrode system. And 3 electrode system, which is a Nobel Prize winning technology for polarography back in the beginning of last century from a Czech scientist called Hiversky. And this is the very basic fundamental of the glucose sensor. As you know, India is one of probably the top country in terms of having diabetes people. And of course, many of you could have already seen whether your parent or grandparent using a small digital device and then just putting a drop of blood into that and taking the glucose reading, which is nothing but an electrochemical sensor. So, which has a glucose enzyme and some redox mediators, and there is information which converts the analog signal into a digital reading, which you will see in the screen. And if you are interested in developing these sensors, we have electrodes, enzymes, the sensors, everything you can put together and make your own homemade glucose sensor. It's fun. If you're interested, you can reach me out to my email, and then I can talk more about that. So yeah, this is the diagram I like, the duck. So now what is spectroscopy? It's very simple. Like I always say, electrochemistry is the way in which your brain functions because it all responds to action potential. So that's how we think. But spectroscopy is the way in which we see objects. So of course, there is a light source, we have an object, we have an eye which is a detector, and then the brain is processing the signal. The same way you have any spectroscopy instrument will have the same components. Because there will be a light source, there will be an object which is the chemical substances you want to detect, and then there will be a prism or grating, and then there will be a detector followed by the signal will be processed, and you see a spectrum on the screen. So many of us will know, okay, this is a fantastic spectrum, whether it is a UV visible spectrum or whether it is an infrared spectrum from infrared, and then but what's happening behind, actually these are the components behind it, and then finally you get a spectrum. And these are fundamentals of any spectroscopy, but then depending on the type of spectroscopy, the light source change, the optics change, and the signal processing is also changing depending on the instrument. So, but fundamentally, this is how it functions. Now, electromagnetic spectrum, I think without this electromagnetic spectrum, the modern world cannot move because everything is within this electromagnetic spectrum, all the way from radio waves to X-rays. I'm not going deep into that. Probably you guys know really better than me in this space because you're all undergraduate students or master students and you study this in your spectroscopy course. So I'm not going much deeper into that. These are the very fundamental things. And I love this diagram. Again, it's a very simple diagram. I try to understand myself, and I always show this diagram when I talk to the students. It quickly explains about the fundamentals behind the infrared, which is mid-infrared, near-infrared, UV visible, Raman, and fluorescence. Interestingly, I know that you all study Raman, you all study mid-infrared in your university days, but as far as I know, many of us haven't studied near-infrared technologies during our university days. But if you go to the industry side, surprisingly, near-infrared is one of the technology which is heavily used in industrial application. So it is funny, like if you want to understand why near-infrared is heavily used in industry compared to mid-infrared and UV visible, you will get an interesting conclusion. If you are interested, read through it, and if you have any questions, you can reach me out separately. So, but try to know this word, near-infrared spectroscopy. And these are the two products, ideal, near-infrared and Raman. Now, what is Metron's involvement related to sustainable energy environment? So, okay, we all know that one of the biggest environmental issue is the increasing level of carbon dioxide on a daily basis into the atmosphere. And there are so many methods to remove CO2 from the atmosphere. Sorry for my CO2 is not subscript, probably typo error. Whenever I do this type of error, I remember Dr. S.A.J. sir, because he scolded me enough to avoid this error, but still after 20 years I haven't changed myself. So what happens, I don't know. Reforestation, wetland restoration, and then capturing of CO2 in the air by chemical processes. I will go to this a little bit later. And the electrochemical CO2 reduction to value-added chemicals and mineral carbonization, and of course many more. So these are the different methods. But one has to understand here that CO2 level is alarmingly increased because of the industrial process. It's not a natural process. So which means reverse process, of course you can do certain level by natural process, but if you want to bring back to the level before industrial revolution, then the capturing of CO2 should also be an industrial process. Otherwise, we are not able to achieve what we want to achieve. Of course, some people may not agree with me, but again, this is my own understanding. Of course, if you want to bring down the CO2 level, of course, we have to do some industrial process. And this process called mineral carbonization, I really love this process, and I currently working on this project with a couple of industries and universities and government bodies. So if you ask me which is your favorite project out of all I'm going to discuss, this is the number one. So I can spend some time in explaining the fundamentals here. So there is a company called Orica. So Orica is a fertilizer manufacturing company in Australia, which is very similar to some of the fertilizing manufacturer company in India as well. So the basic process is Haber process. So Haber process, you all know that producing ammonia from hydrogen and nitrogen and then producing nitrate from it, which is the fertilizer. Now, if you look at the industry process, breaking the nitrogen bond and forming ammonia consumes so much of energy, and that's why one of the energy used for this Haber process is gas. Natural gas is heavily used, and because of this reason why Russia is producing so much fertilizers across any other country in the world, because they have so much natural gas available, and which means they can produce more fertilizers with cheap energy and cheap less money, and that's why they became a global leader in fertilizer manufacturing. And because of the recent war, probably if you are involved in farming or some of your parents are involved in farming, you know that the fertilizer pricing went up significantly after the war. So okay, that's a sidetrack because I'm an industry man, so I always get sidetracked quickly in sharing some geopolitics, scientific, industry, economics, everything connected together, and I try to sidetrack easily. Sorry for that, if it is too beyond the topic. Now, so what's happening here is, yes, the natural gas is used, and then they produce ammonia, and one of the byproducts come out of this is carbon dioxide, which is again a bad gas, which is increasing in so many issues. Now, what this company did is, okay, now how we can use the carbon dioxide in a useful way. So they came up with a fantastic idea called mineral carbonization. So if you look back to the fundamental chemistry, we know what happens if you put magnesium, calcium, and carbon dioxide together? We form calcium carbonate and magnesium carbonate, out of which they make bricks. So basically, by controlling the proper chemistry, and then this magnesium and calcium or mineral waste coming from some of the mines. For example, some of the nickel mines, copper mines in Australia have this magnesium calcium waste, and then they bring the waste here. They simply pass the carbon dioxide gas coming from this Haber process, and then they make magnesium and calcium carbonate, out of which they make bricks. It's a fantastic idea, and I believe personally, and the government, and there are so much bodies involved in it. And as a company, Metron is also supporting financially a little bit, but also mostly on the instrumentation side. And probably in the next slide, now I'm coming to more science. So you can see some of the Raman spectrum here, some of the different types of carbonates, bicarbonates they are making. Now, among all these different carbonates, bicarbonates, some carbonates are really having more value as a brick than the other one. So which means they want to control the process more precisely, which means they need to continuously monitor what's happening inside the reactor. So Raman is such a fantastic tool that it can easily differentiate magnesium carbonate, magnesium bicarbonate, even it can differentiate based on different level of water content. The same way with calcium and calcium bicarbonate, calcium carbonate, all these things. So these are the spectral difference, and you can see the clear shift. It's a very good undergraduate teaching stuff. So basically, yes, we use Raman to monitor the process in the reactor when the process is happening. Basically, carbon dioxide is going through, and they dump the calcium and magnesium, and we put the Raman probe. So we have an industry-grade Raman probe, which means that it is not damaged or scratched by the minerals inside the tank. And we have a Raman called PT Raman, which is nothing but a process technology Raman, which means you can continuously monitor what's happening inside the reactor. I just put this picture because it gives a clear, simple understanding of how this works. Basically, if you're doing a reaction in a beaker or in a flask, you can put a Raman probe and you can monitor the reaction. For example, A and B is reacting to form C, then you will see that the Raman signal of the C will keep on increasing, and the Raman signal of A and B will keep on decreasing, and you can see a fantastic isobestic form, like you see in U visible spectrum. When you are doing kinetics, probably I don't know how many of you doing kinetics these days, because it's one of the old topics, but more than this, people do a lot of kinetics with the U visible spectrum, and they show a lot of isobestic form. The same way you can see here as well. And this is another interesting project we are involved in, again based on Raman. So it's an industry process of how to remove the hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide gas from the natural gas. So when the natural gas is digged out of the earth, it always has some hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide gas along with the natural gas, which is mainly methane. Now these two, carbon dioxide and H2S, is not a good gas because it's corrosive. Then if it goes in the pipeline, it will corrode the pipeline. And also if you store it in a cylinder which you use for the household purpose, it will corrode the cylinder over the period of time, and huge damage will happen. Which means the whole plant does only one thing. Basically, the gas will come in to the plant, and they will remove the hydrogen sulfide and carbon dioxide is the natural gas by a process called scrubbing. So scrubbing is nothing but they dump high concentration amine solution across the gas going line. So which means amine and carbon dioxide will form an adduct, acid-base adduct type of compound, which is again our undergraduate chemistry, which means all the carbon dioxide and hydrogen sulfide gas are captured by the amine, then the clean methane will come out, and then they will use it for the purpose. And now, how this is related to capturing carbon dioxide, because this is actually burning methane and producing more carbon dioxide when the gas is used. But if you look the other way around, the same concept is used to capture gas from the atmosphere. Imagine you constantly pump the gas, the atmospheric air, into a tank which is containing this amine. So you keep on enriching the carbon dioxide into the amine solution until it reaches a saturation point. And the moment it reaches the saturation point, then you took that solution out, heat it up, and then the carbon dioxide gas will be released, and that gas can be used for mineral carbonization, which was used in the previous slide. So basically, yes, you can remove carbon dioxide from the air, and then you can make bricks to construct house. So this is really an interesting idea. And of course, in Australia, some industries are already working in this angle. So I'm not surprised, probably some of the industries in India will be already doing this. Now these are the spectrums, the scientific side. You can see the spectrum, and when the carbon dioxide is binding, you will see the signal increasing, and you can make a calibration curve and to measure the concentration of amine and also the concentration of carbon dioxide captured. So these are the traditional calibration curve, the data feeding, data analysis, all those things. I'm not going deep into that. Now, the other area which electrochemists heavily do, I believe in India many researchers do electrocatalytic CO2 reduction. Again, a spelling mistake in reduction, sorry for that. So doing electrochemical reduction means basically you make an electrode with a catalyst on top of it, and then you apply a negative voltage, then carbon dioxide get reduced and form all these different byproducts like formic acid, methanol, ethylene, ethanol, propylene, propylene, all these things. Now, during this process, people want to monitor how much concentration of these products are formed. Again, the man is Raman. So this is an interesting project we work with an university along with industry called Woodside Research in Melbourne. So basically, they bought our complete package of Raman electrochemical workstation like a potentiostat and a flow cell. So you can see a flow cell here, which just I took a picture during the installation. So basically the whole idea of the project is they will have a reactor, and then in the reactor they will put electrodes and then continuously reduce carbon dioxide, and then they make a pipeline, and along the pipeline they will insert the probe of Raman probe, which means you can continuously monitor the Raman signal. So which means you can in real time monitor what's happening inside the reaction without using any chemicals. So that's why I always say more and more spectroscopy is good for environment, because when spectroscopy is involved, less chemicals are used. In olden days, when we are using HPLC, even HPLC is one of the important technologies now, and then titration, all these technologies use a lot of solvents, which is again not good for the environment, it's not green. Whereas spectroscopy is a green technology, which means wherever spectroscopy is involved, less chemicals are used, and in some technologies, even no chemicals at all used in some of the spectroscopy. Now, I want to give a simple electrochemical application of a daily life, which is a determination of lead in tap water. So these are the 4 elements as per the WHO, and of course as per the regulations of many countries. These 4 elements are not really good for health, so which means they have to continuously monitor in the tap water. So in the Western world, the water is supplied through the council. It's not like in India we make a bore behind our backyard and then you can take the water out and use it. So in the Western world, it's all centralized. So which means all these water council bodies have to continuously monitor for this heavy metal. So this is for the laboratory type. The next project you can see, it's an interesting thing. Arsenic in council, in one of the council water. So basically, there is a gold mine long back in a particular area of Australia, and then whenever there is gold, arsenic is also along with gold, and the gold mine was closed. But what happening is, when it is rainy, the water from the gold mine is getting collected into the dam nearby, and that dam water is used for drinking purpose after water treatment, and it goes to the public pipeline so that people can use it. Now, the council want to continuously monitor arsenic after the treatment process so that there is no arsenic is in the water. And we have installed an online analyzer, which means 24/7, 365 days, it will continuously monitor arsenic concentration in the pipeline every 5 minutes. And this is an electrochemical technology, simple voltammetry technique, which we use, but in a more automated way. And these are the process diagram, the control lines. Unfortunately, if you are in academic, you won't get used to these things, but if you go to industry, probably you would wonder that when you are going in a bus or train, sometimes you will see a massive industry with so much towers, so much pipes, but all those things are controlled by a process control room, and in this process control room, they will have a diagram like this, and that's where people know what's happening in every corner of the plant. And then the same way, we can also monitor our instrument through the process control, which means every 5 minutes the reading will come, and we can continuously measure it, and then if the value goes above the level, and it will make an alarm, and it stops pumping the water. So you can even stop the whole process. So it's really sophisticated industry process. Why I'm saying all this thing is a simple analytical tool which we use in laboratory is the same tool used in industry scale, but in a much more sophisticated and advanced way. But the chemistry is still the same. And then we also supply instruments and work with some of the industries on the battery testing, battery storage testing devices, supercapacitors. But I don't want to go deeper because I'm running out of time already. Sorry for that. The last thing is microplastics, which is another biggest issue in the world. And I'll quickly skip this slide. So basically the whole project is we want to quantify the microplastics in the water, in the salt we use, and it's becoming a big issue as well. So one is identification of microplastics, which is more research oriented. The other one is quantification of microplastics in soil, water, salt, all these things. And Raman is used more for identification, whereas near infrared, which is used for quantification. You have to believe me that we have developed a technology to quantify microplastics in water, just filtering it and scanning it under near infrared. Now, currently, this work has been tested by one of the council, and soon, maybe in few months' time, we will implement our process near infrared to continuously quantify microplastics coming out of the water treatment plant. So, which we believe as a company, which is one of the breakthrough technology we developed here in Australia, so which is really useful for the environment as well, because we don't know what's the impact of having microplastic in our body. Still debates are going on, but microplastics, as you know, is not good for health because they are carcinogen. So we are able to quantify. Now with this, I start with the scientific part. Now career opportunity. As you know, I'm an industry guy. Of course, I spent more than 10 years in academic research, so I have equal experience. So probably I can now give a better view on both sides. Now I call this as an academic cycle. So we start with BSc, and then we do MSc, and then we go for PhD, and then we do postdoc, and then we become a professor, and then we start producing BSc students again. This is a fantastic cycle. It worked really well until 20 years ago. What happened is we saturated this process, which means no more job opportunities available in academic side, which means you have to move into industry at one point. But I'm saying this only to people who are really interested in moving into industry. If you are really interested in research, and if you want to become a professor, if you want to be a researcher throughout your life, please go for postdoc, PhD, postdoc, that cycle. It's a fantastic cycle. At the end, it comes down to what you want, what is your interest, and where you want to see yourself after 20 years. So that's the whole idea. So if your aim is not becoming an academic person, yes, then when is the right time to exit this academic cycle? Whether it is after bachelor's, after master's, after PhD. Out of my experience, I would suggest master's or PhD are the right time. So masters will help you to get jobs in certain industry, and PhDs, after PhD, you will get jobs into certain industry. Again, you need to be very careful in choosing your PhD topic if you want to get into industry, because the research is always seasonal. If you look back for the last 100 years, at one season, one research will be hot. At one point of time, it's all kinetics. At one point, it's all organic. At one point, it's all materials. At one point, it's all nanomaterials. Now, it's all energy storage and energy conversion, which means all the money is pumped there. Industry is working on that. Government is supporting it, which means if you are going to do PhD, I think for a foreseeable future, at least for another 10, 20 years, I think this energy conversion, energy storage will be the hot topic. So if you want to pursue your PhD, please prefer that area. Then you can do your passion, and at the same time you will have a job, which is very important. Now, what type of skills these industries need? Of course, basic chemistry knowledge, which we all have. Laboratory skill, we all have. Analytical and interpretation skills, yes, we do. Research and critical thinking, yes. Decision making and problem solving. Writing and presentation, communication, management and work habits. Not many PhDs know that we all have this skill. But when you do PhD, by the time you finish PhD, knowingly or unknowingly, you will learn all this and you will have all these skills. Now what industry needs? Industry needs exactly the same skills. But we need to put our resume or put our discussion in that angle. In order to be in an academic way of talking, we need to use the industry language. Even when it comes to preparing your CV, when you are submitting your CV for an academic person, you should submit a CV which is 10 pages. But when you are submitting to industry, you should not submit your CV, you should submit your resume which is only 2 pages. The first rule is when you are applying industry job, don't submit CV, submit resume. If you are more than 2 pages, you are disqualified straight away in most of the situations. So this I learned out of my experience in the past. Now industry doors are always open for skilled people. So always industry has jobs. Whereas in academic research, sometimes if the funding is not there, of course, you have to struggle for position. Whereas industries, always there is requirement for skilled people. Alternatively, I think the Indian government is really promoting this at the moment. Startup industries. And these startup industries can be to meet the local and international demand. So that's an alternative way. Now what is next for you? 20 years back, job market was strong and degrees fetched you job. Now the world is different. Degrees alone won't fetch you job, at least for many of you. From now and in the near future, your skill set is going to fetch your job. Of course, you have a degree, but most importantly, your skill set. Our country has so many problems and challenges. So when there is problems, and there is always opportunities, right? So that's how you have to look. The people who are really positive thinking, whenever they see a problem, they'll get excited because that gives me an opportunity to work on it, which means there is a way. Be creative, use your education to solve the problem, be practical. Don't always think about getting a job, of course many of us. Think about how to start a business or a startup company to meet the local and international demand and give jobs to others. And India exactly needs this at the moment. So we need more job creators. So I always say this, 20 to 30, this is the age of, it's very critical in everyone's life because we have more stable mind, because we crossed our teenage, more stable mind, more energy and less responsibility. I'm saying this seriously because by the time you touch 30, of course, you will get married and then kids, you don't have time for yourselves. So the best part of time in human life, in my experience, is the age gap between 20 and 30. Your future is going to be decided based on what you are doing in these 10 years, in 20 and 30. And I believe many of you are in the early 20s or even not even 20. So which means it's the right time, plan your future, work hard and smart, definitely you will be successful. Before I conclude, always take the opportunity in front of you, and I can say this enough only because of that I'm here now, because I always took the opportunity in front of me in every stages of my life. I never scared of moving into a new area, stepping into a new area. Of course, I struggled in every stage, but I always took the opportunity in front of me. I never hesitate to take risks and adapting yourself and working hard. If you have all these 3 skills, in my experience, you will be really successful in your life. And with this, all the best and thank you. I know it's a bit of a long time I took, but I believe it might be useful to you. And please feel free to ask any questions you have.
The floor is now open for discussions.
I know it's not a very comfortable situation to ask question in a virtual session. I wish I would have joined you personally, but unfortunately my plan to India has been followed a bit. So don't worry, but take the message and I can drop my email ID. Maybe you can reach me out through my email. Maybe Jayanti have my email ID. Maybe I can type it here as well. Or is it in the front page? Okay, it's not here.
Yeah. Can you share your email ID?
Yeah, I will type it here. Yep, so hope you can read. So it's my first name dot last name at metron.com.au, and my Gmail account is asnesan@gmail.com. Again, if you are passionate about moving to industry, you can reach me out. Of course, if you are passionate about doing research as well, you can reach me out, but I believe all the previous research person, they all talked about research, and I think they are much better positioned than me in helping you in those areas. So probably if you are interested in industry side, feel free to approach me, and I'll try my best to help you guys.
Thank you, Dr. Sivanesan. That was an interesting session and informative too. And I'm happy to know that you're doing a great job in mitigating environment-related issues.
Thank you so much, Janji. Of course, it's an opportunity we have. As I said before, of course there is a big issue, and of course we have an opportunity to work on it. So,
can I ask you a question? What are the basic requirements for an MSc student to get into Metron?
Okay, so you need to understand that Metron is not a massive company which can recruit so many people. So in India there are around 250 to 300 people working in Metron. And the good news is recently Metron India opened up a manufacturing site in Pune. So they recruited a lot of engineers. But in those sites it's mainly engineers and software engineers, hardware engineers they recruited. But on the sales side, technical side, so definitely there is opportunity for chemists, because they mostly recruit chemistry people, like an application chemist in the laboratory, or technical support person like service engineers. They call service engineers, but still they're all chemists. So you will see often job opportunities opening up in Metron website globally as well. And I can tell you that Tamil people are well known in Metron companies. So globally they give preference to Tamil people because there is a huge Tamil community in Metron globally. I think the third most spoken language in Metron globally is Tamil. First is English, second is German, third one is Tamil, and we have 4,500 employees globally. And I believe nearly 200 people work globally in Metron from Tamil Nadu alone, Tamil speaking people. So we have a good reputation. So.
Yeah, thank you.
Gratitude is the most explicit form of courtesy. On behalf of Department of Chemistry and Physics, it's a great pleasure for me to end the session with a word of thanks to Dr. Sivanesan Arumugam, Product Manager, Electrochemistry and Spectroscopy, made from Australia and New Zealand, Honorary Visiting Fellow at Queensland University of Technology, Sydney, Australia, for his valuable presence and insights on industry and academia partnerships for sustainable energy and environment and career opportunities. Thank you for an interesting session, sir. My sincere gratitude to organizer for making the session a fruitful one. Thank you to all.
Thank you all. I think I can stop sharing the screen.
Undergraduate chemistry students are requested to go to AV2 and undergraduate physics students are requested to go to MMT2. Undergraduate chemistry students are requested to go to AV2 and undergraduate physics students are requested to go to MMT2. Please go to the respective places immediately. The session will start soon. Others, please wait.